I'll be heading your way in like a week and a half when I go down to Comic-Con.
Nice, yeah, that's going to be exciting. I haven't been in a while, but I really I want to go back. It was I think the last time I was there, Jose was receiving an award, and it was a really fun experience because we had all like the VIP access, and that was super cool. But I've gone a couple
Nice.
times as a guest, and it's awesome to see all the cosplay, and I think that that's kind of the future. I love it. Hey Jeff, how's it going?
Hi. Yeah, I had to drop out of our all hands meeting to do this, but I decided to do it. So really happy to be here. It's a great subject.
Amazing. No, happy you're here. Happy you could jump out. I know how that is juggling all these meetings. But we're gonna give it a couple minutes for everybody else to get on stage, and then we'll get started.
Okay, good. Yeah, I just shared a tweet as well to try to get more people, and hopefully Heather. I think Heather did that with Lightning Works as well.
Amazing. Yeah, if people here, I'm actually going to pin a couple things to the top of the space. So if you guys want to pin stuff as well, please feel free. But for now, I'm gonna pin the spaces link so we can get some retweets on that. All right, I think I did that right. Yeah, there we go. All right, cool. So I think we're just waiting on two more, and then we'll get started. All right, well, it looks like we at least have a quorum, so I think we're waiting on one more speaker, but we can get started, and then when Coop gets here, we'll get him up on stage as well. So just to jump in, for those of you who don't know me, who may be joining from outside communities, my name is Nick Frontera. I am the CEO and co-founder of the Satoshiverse and Apollo Entertainment, the studio behind it. We've been doing this for a long time. I got involved in the space in 2017, and we've been building the Satoshiverse since 2020. So really excited to be here, be building for all of you and with all of you. We get the pleasure of doing these spaces every week and bringing up some of the top pioneers of this industry. So really excited to have a great panel here today. I pinned some information on the Satoshiverse in the comments or the tweets above. Please check it out if you don't know about the Satoshiverse. We're building some cool stuff, but today I really want to focus the attention on some of our panelists and the guests that we have here today. So what we'll do is the format will be we'll jump into some introductions. Everyone can take a quick moment to introduce themselves, what they're building, and then we will jump right into the questions, starting with some questions for everybody, and then going into some individual questions on the topic of Metaverse and Web3 gaming. So this is going to be a fun chat, as it always is. Looks like I messed up trying to get Cryptoys up here, so let's see if that worked. Hopefully it did. And yeah, why don't we start with you, Jeff? Tell us about yourself and tell us about what you're building.
Yeah, so I have sort of a long history with crypto. I've been in it since 2014, full time since 2017. Really should say like double time. I've basically been working 80 to 100 hours a week full time for 7 years straight now. I did an ICO in 2017, cryptocurrency called the Divi Project, and we made it as high as number 65 for a while. So we were top 100 coin, and that got us pretty well known among the early Bitcoin and crypto OGs, because this is pretty early. And since then, we're still alive. We're one of the few ICOs from the 2017 area that's still alive. And we're actually partnered for the last year and a half with La Liga, the world's second biggest football league, with our wallet product called Divi Wallet. So we've done really well, and we've already went through one crypto winter, and now we're in another one, so we kind of know how to handle it. 3 years ago, I branched out from that and started Lightning Works and a series of 4 other companies. So I started about 5 companies at once, all around use cases for Web3 entertainment, focusing right now on video games and especially comic books. And I've believed since 2017 that comic books are one of the very best use cases for blockchain. I was very concerned that the governments would never allow like crypto to be really used as money, and still pretty much the case. There's still so much pushback against that, but I did realize that comic books are a multi-billion-dollar industry. DC and Marvel didn't want to print them anymore, and I realized that digital could actually make them better as long as there was a way to make them collectible, which is what NFTs do. So early NFTs, I was working with NFTs very, very earlier than most people, because the first NFT in the world was done by Namecoin, and the lead developer of Namecoin was an advisor and part of our early team with Divi. So I knew about, way before basically any of this sort of JPEG stuff, I knew about NFTs. And, they weren't called that. They were just non-fungible technology. We thought of them differently at the time, but I've just been very early with all this stuff. So 2017, I started realizing that comic books would be a really good thing to do with blockchain, because it's something that had a 100-year history of being collectible and was a multi-billion-dollar thing. People were paying millions for comic books. So I wasn't very surprised when people started paying millions for NFTs, a few years later. And I still feel very strongly that comic books just, people aren't really aware of it yet, but it's going to be a gigantic market for NFTs in the next 3 or 4 years as sort of different companies do it. There's probably 10 or 12 companies doing NFT comic books in different forms right now, and that's one of the reasons that that I really wanted to focus on doing it the right way, making them scarce, and doing them in ways that other people aren't doing them. Like, ours are not just JPEGs; they're done with HTML5. So each page is like a website, and anything you can do in a website, it is like a comic book. So we can have a built-in store, we can have built-in games, interactions of all different kinds. So we did our Genesis mint in November, the same week that FTX crashed. That didn't go very well. We still sold out in 24 hours, and we did a video game. So we have a video game called Siege Worlds you can download and play now, that's connected to our game. It takes me like 2 hours talking at this speed to explain all the stuff we've built and how it all fits together. But it's a very comprehensive and detailed um, universe of technology, stories, characters, unlike really anything that you've seen before in the NFT space. So if you come in, it's quite a rabbit hole if you get into it and come to Lightning Works and start asking questions and looking into what we're doing. There's a tremendous amount there. We have a team of cosplay girls, and we have literally physical video games that we've built that you can actually play, that are connected to the internet. We built a whole wallet system that works within chat apps, and we've done Metaverse stuff. It's just it's quite big, and I've spent a lot. Spent basically all my money building all this over the years. And we have team members from Marvel, executives from an executive from DC that's joined the team, and I'm talking with the very top people in the comics world and the manga world as well, which is much bigger than comics. It's very interesting. I could talk all day about this, but we're really dialed in with mainstream, how they see NFTs and how they don't like NFTs. And so to me, it's very clear what the NFT space needs to do to clean up its act. So I'm hoping to kind of be an advisor to the rest of the NFT space. I'm working with Polygon now to kind of help this out. This will all come. I mean, this is all coming back, right? And it's going to come back bigger than before. But certain things kind of need to happen, just like with crypto. Crypto crashes, it comes back. Crashes, it comes back. Every time it comes back better, bigger, stronger, and more reliable in many ways. NFTs have only been in the first run. Now we're going to get into the second run, and I think that NFTs, comic books, will be a big part of that. I also have deep experience in Metaverse. So not only do I have a game company, but before I was in crypto, I was the founder of virtualrealitytimes.com, which was one of the top early blogs about Metaverse and VR. So I've had about 9 deep years of Metaverse experience. And I officially the head of global business development for Otherverse, which is one of the top VR. It's one of the top metaverses in the world. They've been around for 18 years and have had 50 million people in their metaverses. So it's far bigger than anything that Facebook has done. It's not very well known, especially in the crypto space, but they're backed by SoftBank, which is a $100 billion technology fund, and they have a patent portfolio. They basically control most of the most important patents for the metaverse. So they're going to become extremely important over the next few years. So I'm not trying to impress anyone, mainly just trying to impress upon everyone that I have a lot of experience in this stuff. And anybody that's trying to build stuff, I'm very open. I love to collaborate. So if you're trying to build something cool, message me. I'm here to help. So I could talk all day, but I need to probably shut up now and let other people talk.
No, well, thank you for the introduction. You know, it's great to have such a diverse background on the panel. I got involved in the NFT space through the comic sector as well. So back in 2020, actually through my grandfather Jose Delbo, who was a Marvel and DC comic for 70 years, and at 87 decided to become an NFT artist, and we did some of the early comic NFT drops in the space. So really, really enjoyed those moments. That was a really awesome thing to be a part of, because the space had so little comic art in it prior to that, and we saw kind of a giant movement in after that, and you know, been an incredible journey since then. So super excited to get into it, hear more about what you guys are doing. How about we turn to let's get Will from Cryptoys. Can you give us a short introduction and tell us about what you're building?
Yeah, sure. Hey guys, thanks for having me. My name's Will. I'm the CEO, one of the co-founders of Cryptoys. What we're building is the world's premier digital toy company, creating a platform for you to be able to collect digital toys, then interact with them in different ways. It's kind of at the intersection of the toy industry and the gaming industry. So the way I like to describe it, the best way to think about us at a high level, if you took a toy company like Mattel and a gaming company like Nintendo, and if those two companies had a baby and it was born on the blockchain, it would be Cryptoys. So we're doing some really, really cool stuff at the intersection of toys and gaming, creating a bunch of different, mini games and AR experiences and all these different things that we're going to be announcing shortly. We have some amazing backers, some amazing investors, amazing partners, including Mattel and Disney. We've done already a few drops for Mattel around Masters of the Universe. We've done a drop already for Disney with Star Wars, and we have some other big announcements and stuff that we're working on with Disney coming soon. So just, really excited to kind of build the future of the toy industry with these amazing partners. And, everything's built from an infrastructure standpoint on top of blockchain. So really doing some fun stuff there in the Web3 and NFT space. And yeah, it's a little bit about us at a high level. There's 3 pillars of the company, which is toys, gaming, and entertainment. And we're really investing a lot into all 3 of those pillars to bring amazing toys to consumers of all ages, to bring amazing interactive experiences and games, and then also high quality entertainment, animated shorts and things like that that kind of proliferate the brand and the IP. So really excited to be here with y'all and excited to chat more.
I love it. Well, super cool what you guys are doing. I think I started looking into it several weeks back, and then every time I check my Instagram, you guys must have some pretty good placement, because I see Cryptoys ads and stuff on my Instagram all the time. So super cool. I've learned a lot about your project and what you guys are building. Really cool to see what you're doing with some of these known IPs, because it's been an adventure to see how known IPs are leveraging their IP within the NFT space. And I think, some of these more innovative use cases, and it's like what you guys are doing and, where things are going, in more recent times are really encouraging to see how IP is being leveraged. Cool. So I think we have on the Earn Alliance side, let's bring Jose. Can you give us a quick introduction of yourself and what Earn Alliance is building?
Absolutely. First of all, thanks for the invite and an apology from Joseph Cooper, our CEO. He could not join us today, so I am the community manager. I'm Jose Martinez, and I'm here representing Earn Alliance. So for anybody who doesn't know Earn Alliance, we are an all-in-one gaming platform. We truly believe that Web3 gaming is the future, and we want to empower all billion of users and gamers to join Web3. We have a game directory where we do not exclude any games. We have over 2,000 games listed in there. Very nice features to find your next favorite game, easy to find, easy to use. You can start following them. We have a wall, which is like a social media where you get all the feeds. So instead of browsing through Twitter and Discord and all these platforms, you can see all Web3 in one place. It really saves you time. If you're into Web3 gaming or gaming at all, you can come to our wall and see what's happening, what's hot, what's the latest news and the trends. We also have a rocket launcher where we release free NFTs. So if any game wants to release any NFTs to their community, we have an all-in-one platform where we can take from A to C the whole process, create smart contracts, do the whole process for the games, and we release these free NFTs. We try to base this not as their main NFTs, because most games have already characters and their own main NFTs. We try to do something like a sub NFT, something to complement their game and give access to more people to their game by these 3 minutes. We have very big things planned in the future, huge airdrops, huge marketing campaigns. As I said, Web3 is the future. We're betting big on it, and we are super hyped to be invited and be here.
Incredible. Well, so glad to have you, and great that you could jump in for Joseph. I had a call with Joseph the other day, so definitely learned a lot more about what you guys are building. Really impressed by all the tooling you guys are building. If you're interested in Web3 gaming as a consumer, as a community member, Earn Alliance has some incredible tools for discovery and learning about new games, and really doing a good job of incentivizing projects to reach out and create interesting opportunities and gamified opportunities to help with game discovery on both ends. So really impressed by the platform and really excited to have you guys on. I guess, Spencer, why don't you give a quick introduction of yourself, and then you could take it away with the question.
Sure, yeah. My name is Spencer Vogel. I've been working with Apollo and Sushiverse on the business development and strategy side of things for the last couple of years, and I've been hosting these spaces for the last 33 episodes. As Nick explained in the beginning, we're going to start off with a question for everyone, and then get into some individual questions, and then hopefully get to some more everyone questions at the end if we have time. So I'll call on someone to start for this first question, and then everyone just feel free to jump in if you have any thoughts. And maybe Will, you could start us off for this one. So if you could take any real world or Web 2 experience and emulate it in a metaverse environment, what would it be?
So take a Web 2 experience and put it in a metaverse environment. I mean, I'm really bullish on where spatial computing and AR is heading in particular. There's so much that we could interact with in the world around us. But from a Web 2 perspective, obviously what's missing is that true concept of ownership and taking these digital items and owning them. So I think we're all familiar with, Pokemon Go, right? Pokemon Go, absolutely incredible application and game built by Niantic. I'm really doing kind of stuff like that, but imagine you could do that in the Web3, capacity with other different IPs and things like that, where you can go out to the real world, do certain things and collect them and have full ownership with it. And I think like the concept of the metaverse, I talk about this a lot. Like metaverse is a bit of a buzzword, and you ask 10 different people what the word metaverse means, you get 10 different answers. And I like to think about it in fidelities. So like, you can make the argument that right now in this Twitter space, that this is a low fidelity version of the metaverse, because here I am, I'm on my phone, I'm walking around, I'm looking at my device, and I'm looking at all these amazing people here in the audience and the avatars, and I'm getting emoji reactions, and it's like, what a amazing thing to do. It's be able to chat with folks in real time at scale. So whenever I think about the metaverse, I think about the intersection of your physical life and your digital life. And then what fidelities do you need, and what form of metaverse do you need for that particular application? So we can make the argument that Twitter is low fidelity metaverse, meaning I'm scrolling through Twitter, I kind of see it through my phone, but I'm digesting information very fast. I'm on Twitter Spaces. This is a form of metaverse. This is just a lower fidelity metaverse. Then you get into higher fidelity metaverse, and I think the buzzword that we think of metaverse is like the Ready Player One, VR kind of medium, and I think that's great for certain things. And I think there are going to be moments where you want that high fidelity metaverse, the intersection of your physical life and your digital life in forms of AR, and certainly what Apple's doing with the Vision Pro is going to get us there and make leaps and bound progress. But I'm super bullish on all these fidelities, because look, as much as I love VR, I'm not going to be wearing those goggles for more than 25, 30 minutes at a time. It's just, it's only for small doses. But how can, you know, digital things enhance my day-to-day life in lower fidelity ways, but sometimes even more useful things like Twitter and things like that. So just the concept of ownership, and taking the concept of ownership across these different fidelities of metaverse, I think are really exciting. In particular with Cryptoys, you could see stuff that like what Niantic's doing with Pokemon Go and things like that, and what we could potentially do to add another level of ownership to those things. I'm particularly excited about, and that's kind of like mid-fidelity metaverse to me. So that's kind of the first place that I think of when I think of like easy, quote unquote, metaverse style applications, the intersection of physical and digital that consumers, Web2 consumers, can easily make the jump to Web3 and get it and digest it right away in a way that makes sense. It's not a hard sell. It's the same experience that you're used to, the same experience that you love, but with full ownership. It's actually a no-brainer for people to make that jump once they make that connection. So that's where I go to initially.
I'd like to expand a little bit on that, because he's 100% right, of course, with the idea of ownership. But there's an aspect to the ownership that a lot of people are not talking about that I think people will be soon, which is really about not just owning your data, but also owning part of the world that you're creating. So the companies that I think are going to do very well are the ones where you don't just own, for example, the weapons that you are creating in the game, but you're actually owning part of the IP that you're creating within the world that's part of the game. So, for example, if you're part of a metaverse that is a game environment, it's not just the physical things that you own, but you actually can own the IP of the characters that you're creating, the NPCs that you may create that are the bots that are running around that world that you've set to life, using ChatGPT and voice activated software and all this kind of stuff. People really want to create right now. We've seen a huge expansion of things like webtoons, and Apple just invested $60 million in a competitor of webtoons because they realize that people want to be able to create comics. And in the old days, it was very hard. You had to draw everything yourself. You had to print them. It's all really expensive. But now with digital and with AI tools, a lot of people are going to be able to create comic books, and they're going to be able to be a lot more storytellers. So people want to own that. And if people are going to invest their time in your universe or your game, they want to own what they're creating. And so anybody that's thinking about creating metaverse, creating games, creating this stuff, think about how your users can own not just the stuff that they're like buying and using in your game, but how do they own a piece of the game itself and put their creativity into it and own that? That's really, for me, the future of Web3.
Yeah, I think I'd be parroting a lot what these two said. I'm also tremendously bullish on the intersection between AR and real world applications of just digital, proceeding forward. But then, like they were saying, I think NFTs add that ownership layer. I think it's interesting when you start to get into the IP angle, because I agree. I think NFTs opened up a world of possibilities for the creator economy. and IP generally. But from a legal perspective, what they actually, what I believe the most important thing they did was actually create an infrastructure for non-IP ownership, right? Because before NFTs, you had to give someone a license. That was really the only way of transferring any type of IP right to a user who was quote unquote owning digital assets. And NFTs for the first time created a certain tangibility layer, I think, for digital assets that didn't exist before, that allowed things like licensing deals for a piece of property rather than something where you're just simply sub-licensing, a piece of digital media to a consumer. And I think that hasn't quite played itself out, in the courts yet, in the regulatory regimes, but I think 10 years from now, we'll look back and that will be one of the most important things NFTs brought was a structure for an entire, regime of digital property ownership to be implemented by the courts and regulators. And I think that's super important if we're going to have any kind of digital future. I guess more nuanced, I guess, to the question. I was thinking about this the other day, and it's been something, at least being involved on the art and collectibles side of things for the last several years, that I just haven't seen done well. And that's, just in terms of replicating a real life experience in the metaverse. I haven't really seen a great auction house experience done, which is kind of puzzling, given that most of the big things that we celebrated in the space over the last 3 years were these big auctions. And at the end of the day, everyone was sitting by their computer watching, a number go up and bids come in on a website. And I've always thought that there's such an incredible opportunity to really build out a true auction house experience for some of these digital art platforms, or even, physical art platforms where, people are getting in VR or through their computers in a more realistic, high fidelity setting. And, like Will was saying, taking that from kind of this super low fidelity version where there was very little interactivity, but people were still excited to watch these bidding wars, and bringing that into something that's much more immersive, that, people are getting pumped up, people are seeing each other, there's paddles being raised, the types of things you would expect at a physical Christie's or Sotheby's auction. I think that's going to come. I haven't seen a good implementation of it. And so, I'd love to see that in the next, if we weren't so busy, we'd build it, but it's I think something that's going to come.
There's another aspect of the metaverse a lot of people don't really realize, which is the aspect of sex. Like, everybody just sort of ignores ignores it. But when you talk to the actual experts of metaverse, the sex is very important, not because of porn, but because the type of experiences people want. People want experiences like they're seeing on HBO, right? If you watch a show like Game of Thrones, there's sex in the show. There's a certain amount of nudity, but it's not porn. But if your metaverse and your avatars don't allow that type of experience, they don't allow that type of story, and to participate or watch that or create that, you're never going to be able to get the top creators, because nobody wants a nannyverse. People want to be able to create the type of artistic experiences and storytelling that involve a more full range of human experience. So that's one of the reasons why Facebook is never going to be the top metaverse. It doesn't matter how much money they put into it. First of all, nobody trusts them, but second of all, they're just not going to be able to add. They're just not going to do what HBO does, because they're going to get so much shit for it, right? As soon as they start announcing that not only are we adding legs, but we're adding genitals to our avatars, everybody go nuts. It's just never going to happen, which allows opportunities for other metaverses. Now, doing that in the right way so that kids aren't being exposed to perverts, where countries certain countries that have more stringent conservative values can sort of block out what they don't want their people to see, to create a global metaverse that allows for the full range of sexuality between sort of governments, creators, parents, all this kind of stuff. It's extremely complicated and difficult and problematic, right? And so that's like one of the things that, Otherverse that I work with, I'm an advisor there, That's one of the things they have a lot of experience in, because they've created a lot of white label ones. So the reason I'm saying this is because nobody ever talks about it, and it's very interesting, and it's also just very real. It's just, people just need to know, like, if you're building a metaverse, think about sex and how you want to have that as an aspect of what you're doing. I mean, you may just decide, okay, that's fine. Everything's going to be just no sex. It's just not part of it, except people talking to each other, perhaps. But if you want to be the metaverse that people are really going to use, that are going to attract the greatest storytellers in the world, you're going to need to be able to give people the right tools to be able to do it. And that's an important aspect of it.
Jose, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I think even though it sounds like a paradox, it would give identity to the gamers, because even though many people would create a fake ID and be on the metaverse, not looking like they look in the real world, it would give a real way to trace how they perform in games. You see, like, people commenting, I don't know, on a game on Reddit, and then they go and they have a profile on Steam, and then they comment on Twitter, and then they upload these different things of games. Right now, the real identity is content creators. We can recognize them, people who are famous for doing it, maybe esport players, but the average gamer who goes and plays on the weekends and on his games don't really have a persona or a way to identify himself. But taking this to a metaverse and Web3, you can keep track of everything that happens. If you play a game, you have your rewards, you know what kind of games, you know how many hours they've been playing, you know what kind of games this player likes, if he likes racing, if he likes RPGs, MMORPG or whatever. So even though it's creating a different image of a person, I think taking a Web2 issue that is very ID is very all over the place, putting everything into a metaverse, it would really help gamers to have an ID. And talking about a very quick analogy of Web2 versus Web3 with ownership. I don't know if you've been playing Diablo. There's this crazy stuff, millions of people playing. There's a unique that only has been one in the whole game. So if you count how many millions of loot there has been coming on, the odds of getting this is actually harder than the lotto. So if this was an NFT, it would be worth probably as a lotto. So putting it into a perspective, if Diablo was a Web3 game and you get this super rare, unique, legendary, whatever it's called, it would be worth like winning the lottery.
Yeah, and instead they're account bound, right? I was playing Diablo and I actually lost interest in the game because of how closed the loot system is, and it's like it's almost anti Web3 at this point. I was pretty disappointed with the new Diablo game after being a long time Diablo fan my whole life. Really, it was tough to see. I mean, I understand why they went that direction, because it's one of those things. It's hard to dip your toe in when you're building a player economy. But yeah, Diablo went about as centralized as you can get, with account bound all of their major items. So yeah, it was sad to see, but I agree. I think when we have a Web3 game of Diablo scale, and I think it's going to be a while before we do, it'll be incredible to see how those open player economies kind of fold into the whole structure, and I hope we get there, because I think that's the way it should be. I don't think there's a reason to necessarily limit people's ability to take all those hours of hard work and transfer them, and if you only build on ramps, it's probably not sustainable. You look at what FIFA is doing with every year, their game with now, I guess it's called EA Sports FC, but that same model of you release the same game every year and get people to buy the players over and over and over again. It's a money machine, but I don't know how sustainable that's going to be when there's a clear alternative that hopefully consumers will choose moving forward. But I know we've taken a lot of time on this everyone question. So
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I want
yeah. In the
Spencer to
interest
move
of
on to
time,
our
let's
next one.
move on to the individual questions here. So the first one is to Will at Cryptoys. So Cryptoys is really focused on creating gamified experiences for licensed IP. You mentioned Masters of the Universe and Star Wars. Do you expect large entertainment IPs to continue pursuing projects in the Web3 space? And what do you think they're trying to achieve by working with Web3 technology that they weren't able to with Web2?
Yeah, absolutely. As someone that works with a lot of brands and Hollywood studios and owners of IP, I could tell you that the vast majority of them are very bullish on the space and remain undeterred by a lot of the hiccups that we're seeing and the growing pains that we're seeing in the macro market. I think brands and IP holders are always looking for innovative ways to engage with fans and always to kind of push the limits of what's possible. And I believe that the majority of folks see Web3 as a great medium to do so, to provide ownership, similar to what they're doing in other strategies with physical products. Web3 enables a massive, massive distribution advantage because you could do it digitally without a lot of the same overhead costs that you need to do with plastic production from a toy perspective, manufacturing, all the logistics for delivery and all these different things, whether it's overseas or domestically. And then on top of it, what could you do through this amazing lens? Not just the fact that it's beneficial from a financial perspective, but what innovative things could you do with this IP that let fans get closer to the IP? We talk about ownership a lot, and it's kind of like a buzzword in the space. So ownership, but the reason we talk about it so much is ownership matters so much. When you feel ownership over something, that's a deeper connection that you have with that product and with that intellectual property. So I think brands are doubling down on that, and I think you're going to see many, many, many more IP holders get into the space in a big way. I think it was, obviously in the bull market a couple of years back, every big studio and IP holder in town had a Web3 strategy meeting and tried to figure out what they were going to do. But it's amazing to see that even through all the ups and downs from the macro market perspective, that everyone's still bullish. We talk to big brands and studios, every single week, and everyone's really bullish on the space because what it could provide to fans to make people feel closer to their IP via that ownership, to get direct feedback from fans, and then to create experiences that frankly were never possible before. We work with Disney and Mattel, and both of them were enamored by the idea of a digital toy. Like, what could you do through the lens of a toy if it's fully digital? And people have that same ownership that they do over a physical toy, but you don't have the concepts of physics and gravity and plastic manufacturing. Like, we saw a kid open up a holocron Cryptoy, a Star Wars Cryptoy, with his dad the other day, and the kid reached out to the screen of the computer and acted like he was using the Force to unbox the cube. And you can only have those experiences digitally, right? Because you can't use the Force to unlock something in the physical world, but of course through the lens of a screen, you can do all these things like make the cube float and unbox it in the air. Have the music and all the light shows and things like that you could do digitally. So I think IP holders are just looking for innovative ways to reach their fans, and they know that Web3 is a very efficient medium to do so, and they're very excited about the potential.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense too for those particular two companies, because older people we've noticed have a hard time kind of understanding the idea of digital ownership because they're kind of used to Amazon, right, where you don't actually own anything. But younger people, even if they're 3, 4, 5 years old, they often already have Robux and they're buying digital stuff that they own, right? So they're growing up in a completely different mindset. So for them, NFTs are a very natural thing. The problem is that younger people are very much against NFTs for the most part right now because all the gaming influencers that they listen to on YouTube and elsewhere have come out against them for the most part. So like my daughter who's 17, she literally told me every kid in her school hates NFTs. They don't know what they are when I ask her, but they know that they're bad because they've been told this, right? And we have on our team a guy named Ken Abrams. He was head of toys, and and licensing for Marvel for 3 or 4 years. He's actually the guy that designed the Incredible Hulk, those big green fists that you slam together and they make a roar sound. Like he designed that with Stan Lee. And he does licensing right now. And he said that, the same thing you just said, Will, that all of these companies are super bullish on NFTs, but they want nothing to do with the NFT space as it is now. Like they don't want to call them NFTs. They don't want to be associated with Bored Apes or any of this stuff, right? They like the technology. They see the potential of it, and they know the young people coming for toys will love the idea of digital toys if they can figure out how to get them in their hands. And so there's a tremendous amount of potential with this kind of thing, especially I think what you're doing with the idea of phygital stuff, where you have you have physical toys, and you also have the digital version. This kind of stuff is going to be a gigantic opportunity in the next 10 years that kids are going to take to really, really, really well.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. So moving on to our next question is to Jose at Earn Alliance. So what role do you think gaming guilds and alliances play in growing the Web3 gaming space?
Oh, that's a great question. And I think the answer is we all know it, is the community plays a very important part in Web3. Not only on gaming, but any Web3 community they're a massive stakeholder. They actually, we have DAOs, we have ways that the community really influence what's happening and give feedback, and they feel part of the team. So the way guilds and other communities they interact is super important because they help build communities. They help create what the space is going to look like. We saw many guilds gone through a recent transformation, probably the last year during the bear market. Play to earn was huge. There was a lot of guilds making money out of people playing in there. Once the floor price of the entrance become accessible to everyone, nobody really need to be a guild to make money. Then play to earn was not a money-making machine anymore. Nobody started playing, so the guilds had to reinvent themselves. We see many guilds going through a transformation to become communities, launch pads, different ways of conserving their community active by doing different things. So I think that the priority we've seen is that people want to keep their people engaged, keep them active, give them things to do. And by having an active community, you can reach better goals. We know, unfortunately, there's still like unwritten rules on crypto, like FOMO and how many people you have in your Discord, how many people you have in your Twitter, which hopefully with time this would not be so sad, because we see a lot of bots in the space. We see a lot of things that affect real people interested, because you can enter a project and you see, oh my God, has 200,000 followers, which none of them are real, and then you think it's going to be a great project, and in the end it's just all hype, or there's no consistency, there's no team behind it. So the real community, the people who are there, the people who follow, the people who are day in, day out commenting, helping the project grow, is the role of these guilds and these communities into the actual development of solid projects. And you can see that real projects have a real community behind them, and is something beautiful to see, because people do appreciate and do engage and do spend their times in their communities with these projects.
Yeah, if I could jump in there real quick. I think, it kind of goes back to, I agree with everything you're saying. This Web3 is a consumer and community driven movement, right? All the tools that Web3 enables, that NFTs enable, are very consumer focused, and they are, tools that will empower gamers, empower consumers through this idea of digital asset ownership. And so this kind of goes back to what Jeff was saying, and Will as well. There's there has evolved this negative sentiment around Web3, and it's a byproduct of misusing Web3. So for me, what guilds should represent is a community of gamers who are excited about the potential of the technology, right? Content creators, just consumers who aren't necessarily looking to kind of recurringly make money through the technology, because that's not the future of this space. Like there's no sustainable model for millions and millions of people all ending up being net positive, making money, because you have to, that maybe in the metaverse one day there will be jobs, but it's all going to come back to a more normal point. But there could be opportunities there, of course, in underdeveloped countries, places where a few bucks an hour will really make a difference. But I think for the large majority of people will want to play games for the same reasons they've wanted to play games for the last 30 or 40 years. The difference being that when they find a game that they really, really, really like and play it for hundreds and hundreds of hours because they want to, those items that they find will have some value. They can off ramp from that game and maybe jump into another game for free because they, sold their assets, and it may have only been $80 for their entire account, like it is in a Diablo or RuneScape, after you spend hundreds of hours in there. But those rights were built in, right? So I think for me, what I'd love to see is the sentiment around blockchain gaming shift from this is a way of making money to this is a way of truly owning your assets. And I think that's going to take a lot of education and coordinated effort between projects who have the budget to work with major content creators and help them understand, look, this isn't, a scam. This isn't this big initiative to kind of extract value, which admittedly, I think a lot of projects have done, is simply extracted value. I think we have to change that narrative. And I think we as projects need to dedicate time and budget and resources to working with these kind of thought leaders within the traditional space to help them pitch an idea that I think they will get on board with. But that's going to take time, right? Because it's really easy for a bunch of media outlets to cover all the crashes in the NFT space. And when stuff like, I won't name names, but certain projects do certain things recently and raise $20 million on collections that are pretty low effort, I think you start to see where that negative sentiment comes from. And so I think there has to be kind of a reckoning that people who believe in this technology and space are actually not just working to promote their own projects, but to start to change that sentiment around the space. Because I don't think it's possible for this space to succeed without a consumer-driven movement towards it. And right now, we don't have that. So I think that needs to happen, and we all need to be working towards that.
I think that there's a piece of this puzzle, though, that a lot of people are missing, especially those of us that are in the developed world, and we mainly play games for fun. And that is that there's like 100 million young people in countries like the Philippines and Colombia and Bangladesh, India, all over the world, really, who have a hard time getting a job. And if they do, like, for example, we have a couple of people, one in the Philippines, one in Colombia, who have found a way to play our game professionally, because they've told me that in conversations that if they go get a job in a factory, they're going to be working like 50, 60 hours a week in a sweatshop for $400 a month. They can actually make that much or more playing our game just by getting weapon drops from the enemies that they're shooting. And then we've built in a peer-to-peer marketplace, so people basically sell those. And so you create this dynamic of an in-game economy that's peer-to-peer, where people are grinding away, playing the game in different ways. It could be mining or fishing or forging items or just getting weapon drops. If they can then sell those to players that want to just play for fun and they want to get better stuff, then you create this circular economy. So you've got people that are sort of the low end who are doing all the grinding, and then you have the other people coming in who want this stuff. And then you've got to, as a game designer, you want to try to figure out different ways to encourage the people that have the money that are bringing it in to actually want to buy this stuff for some reason, right? So if you can create, for example, different challenges that give them badges, but they require to have certain items that they either can get by buying them on the peer-to-peer marketplace, or they can get it by grinding. A lot of them will be like, I'd rather pay $20 and get this thing so I can have the key to this special lair of the dragon so I can fight it. And if I fight the dragon, I get this really cool badge that proves that I killed the dragon. And if I get all of the different badges from all the colors of the different dragons, I get this special NFT. It just goes on and on and on like this, right? So if you create the right incentives, then you create the circular economy that is player driven. And that's the way to do it, in my opinion. And this is why a lot of the gamers don't like NFTs, is because they feel like it's not going to be a player-driven economy. It's going to be this thing where they've got to buy the NFT from the game studio in order to be able to do something. And they feel like the NFTs have the power to be abused. So we've tried to do it differently with our game, where we do not sell the NFTs at all. The NFTs are always earned either through work or being purchased from other people that have done the work. And if people can kind of get that into their minds about when they're designing the tokenomics of their play-to-earn economy, then I think they'll have a lot more success. Because what we saw with Axie Infinity and a lot of these others, it's just a matter of paying people to play your game, and eventually that sort of pool of money runs out. And if the value of all that stuff goes down, then nobody wants to play because you don't have the right incentive structure in the economy itself.
Let me jump in. I think games have to be fun. First of all, like if it's not fun, no matter how good economy it is, it's not a game. It's a job. And you don't want to do that. It has to be fun. People want to do it not as a living, but because it's a game. Like I started playing games when I was a kid, not because I needed money, but because I liked them. And the problem is that we come from this mentality of making money, not of having fun. So all the games first design an economy, and then they design a game to fit the economy. But as we've seen over and over and over again, it doesn't work. It ends up being a Ponzi scheme where you cannot just give money to everybody. So it has to be based on fun. And we've seen a lot of games now focusing on fun. The Web3 games have evolved loads. If we see 2 years ago to now, there's been a transformation, a huge transformation, and the games are becoming super cool. Unreal Engine 5 has really helped this. They do look like proper games. Like there's lore, there's characters, there's a story, and I think until we get to that point where people go there and play and it becomes a fun game and everybody's trying to do it, that's when Web3 is gonna become mainstream. Is when people are gonna say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna play it not because I'm gonna make $2 playing per hour, but I'm gonna play it because it's a really cool game. I really want to play it. So I think. Overall, we all have to start thinking of fun on Web3.
Well, yeah, you're 100% right that the games have to be fun. The guy that's building our game is a game professor from the UK, and his job was to teach game designers how to make games fun. And we went together to a play-to-earn gaming conference in Dubai, and he played every game, and he told me, he said, not one of these games is fun, not what he considers fun. They're all focused on trying to get people to play their game, but they don't actually know how to make games fun. So that's really important. But my point is, though, is that there is a segment of the market that will play the game. If they can earn money, they will play because they can get $2 an hour. If that $2 an hour is worth more than they can get working in a sweatshop, if they can get a job at all, then you create this circular economy. So what I'm saying is that there's two things here. There's the fun part and there's the earning part. And if you can couple them together in the right economy, you're going to have a really winning combination. But you're right, it will not work if it's not fun for the players that are bringing in the money. But there is a segment of people that will play the game just as a job. And that can be part of the economy. And that's what the metaverse is going to be in the future. There will be jobs in the metaverse that people do, not because the metaverse is fun, but because it's a job. And if you're building your metaverse, think in terms of that. Like, what can a person do in your metaverse? Are they going to be building something that's complicated, or are they going to be interacting with your guests and explaining stuff? Like a store clerk. Your metaverse could have a game that people can play. Like, if you had a ping pong game, maybe you need somebody to play with, and you can give them tips. It goes on and on and on of all the different ways people can make money that goes beyond fun. So both are solving different important human psychological needs. And there's more than just fun and money. Another one is just loneliness, right? There's an epidemic of loneliness in the world. So that's another thing you can solve for when you're building technology that people are interacting with. It may not be fun, and it may not make you money, but if it solves the people's need to have a community and have people just hang out with, because maybe they live in an area where there's nobody that likes what they like, the metaverse is going to be extremely good for creating ways for people to interact with each other that have a passion for a shared and rare niche. They may love some very specific type of old manga that they just think is the coolest thing in the world. There may only be, 50,000 people in the world that think that's the best manga ever, but they love it so much. And if they can find people that love it as much as they do, then you're solving for loneliness, right? Because they love to talk about it. It's just their thing, right? And so there's many different solutions, and the metaverse can solve all these different things. If you're building a game that does all of these, where people can make money, they can have fun, and they can have community, so that they can have friends and have sort of rewarding relationships, then you're really going to have something special that's very popular with people.
So we're coming up towards the end of our space here, so I want to make sure that we announce our giveaway winners. So we have 3 winners today, some awesome prizes. So the first winner of our Satoshiverse NFT trading card, which is the Satoshi in the Big Apple gold rarity card, is Buck Jester, or at Osay Can You Tweet. Congratulations. Please send Satoshiverse a DM and we'll make sure to get you your prize there. And then Cryptoys is giving away 1 Star Wars Holocron Cube, which you can open up in order to get a Star Wars collectible on the Cryptoys platform. The winner of that is Big Boy at BigBoy1333337. Congratulations. Please reach out to Cryptoys or we'll help connect you. And then lastly, on the Lightning Works side, they're giving away a pack of 5 Siege World Zero comics on Polygon. And the winner of those 5 comics is The Chosen Panther, or at Matthew084444164. Congratulations, and please send a DM to Lightning Works, and we'll make sure to get you your prize. So we're pretty much out of time, so I'm gonna pass it back to Nick to close us up here.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. I mean, this was a really great discussion. I think we really moved all over the board on topics. So really, really great to have everybody's insight. Definitely looking forward to seeing how all of your projects develop. For those of you who are here live and watching the recorded version later, please give everybody a follow. Check out what they're building. We're really excited about all the projects that we bring on here. So very, very much looking forward to seeing how all these things develop. I guess from the Satoshiverse side, we will be releasing our Alpha Phase 3 build this week, which is going to extend to all of our Satoshiverse collectibles holders. That is something that's a really, really low entry point. I think there's collectibles that are $2 or $3. So this is just the alpha testing phase, but you get to be part of the development of the game. So if you are interested in that, hop in our Discord. Let us know that you are on the chat, and we can certainly get you set up for that. That'll be coming in the next couple days. And then we are really, excited about everything coming forward. So definitely, if you haven't been introduced to what we're building, please check it out. But definitely, please check out Cryptoys, Earn Alliance, and Lightning Works, which is going to be an awesome comic project that I'm super excited about personally as a comic fan. So definitely really, really glad to have everybody on. Thanks so much for joining. If anyone has any kind of closing thoughts or closing words, please feel free to hop in, but then I will close the space. All right. Sounds like we are good to go. Thank you, everyone. And we will see you next week at the same time.